before we start, tell me a little bit about this because I want to mention it, and I know you won't because you're so humble. But I looked all over. You've done a great job of limiting your internet presence. You know that. Who did you get? Who did you get to scrub your web presence?
I don't even really know what you're talking about. Okay, so clearly it's not me. So
So this, I know you were named one of the top 50 or 100 coaches. Was that by TABC?
UIL,
UIL. That's why I
UIL
couldn't.
top
That's
50
why I couldn't find it. So,
top in the last 100 years, the top 100
top
coaches,
100, 100 years. Yes. So,
which was a bit bizarre because when I first read it, I thought it was 100-year-old coaches, and I was on that list. And I took a little bit of offense because although I might look that old, I'm clearly not there yet. I hope to.
all right. All right, Coach Thomas, I truly appreciate you joining me today. You know, I told you yesterday on the phone, you were a mentor to me from afar. I always picked out, I couldn't always hang out with the most five successful people I always wanted to, so I tried to get as close to them as possible. And often that was just showing up at practices or talking to people that were around them. So you did influence me. Um, I think it's a true testament to the old saying that, you never know who's watching when you're doing things. So I was watching you, you didn't know it, but you were influencing me and in a good, positive way. And, I guess, guess we should all coach, live, and probably love, in that manner. Like somebody's watching how you raise your kids, somebody's watching how you love on your wife, and all of those things. So, this podcast is meant to spotlight success in hopes that success will breed success, which is something I've believed in for a long time. And so the first thing I want to talk about is, first of all, how did you define success, to your teams when you were coaching basketball? I know that probably didn't look the same all the time. You were in different districts, you were at different levels, you had different talent. And so I know success is different at all of those, but I know you probably defined it much the same way. So I just like if you take a few minutes and talk about that.
Well, I think that every season has its challenges, and every group of kids, you have to, they're unique in that sense, and they all have different gifts and talents, and so it's our goal as coaches, or it was my goal as a coach, to try to find what they did best and try to capitalize on that, and then what they did poorly, and try to make that not something that ended up costing us a game in the long run, And so, again, success is measured to their level of their ability, and if they got the most out of it, and and to my level, if I was a good enough coach to get the most out of it, And so that's a challenge. It's a challenge to me to not leave anything on the table for them, and to make sure that you really asked more of them than they knew they could really give. That was the challenge, is to let them know that they had so much more in them than they believed about themselves, and to try to take them to a level that you felt was realistic.
Okay. Um, I mean, did that definition of success stay the same day in, day out?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as every coach goes through a schedule and says, "Hey, this looks like what we can do this year," and then sometimes they totally surprise you and do exceedingly well, because we're most of the time, I think probably we're more pessimistic than optimistic, which drives us to be successful, and to make sure we don't fail. But yeah, I mean, I think the things that I held true at the beginning were the same at the end. I think I was much more adept at reading kids, and being more realistic. I was probably, as you mature as a coach, less emotional in some respects, and much slower to make decisions without being more thoughtful, and I think that again, that just comes with experience.
Yeah. I think some coaches and leaders, they define success different sometimes every day. And then that leaves the people they're leading, not knowing what they're actually shooting for and what the target is. I think it's important that the leader defines success, redefine it regularly, and I just don't feel it can change. Success for me was always, I just tried to emphasize every day just being the best you could be that day, in that moment. That was success to me. Not always wins and losses, because sometimes we can be the best we can be, and somebody's might be better, that particular moment. So,
No doubt.
um, so one thing I admire about you is that you transitioned from coaching into the business world, seem to be pretty flawless. Obviously, all entrepreneurs, all people going into business, just like coaches, have ups and downs. But I know it didn't start at 44 Farms. I know you got started in other avenues. But can you tell me a little bit about 44 Farms? Me and for our guests, I'd like to know a little bit about it. And then, how do you define success to those people that you're leading?
Well, 44 Farms started out as just a registered Angus business, and it is for to develop high-end genetics. And so people would buy our bulls in order to enhance their herd genetically, and that's how we started out. And took us a number of years to be at the top of where we're at right now, certainly. But we're probably the number one Angus registered Angus business in the state of Texas, and we're certainly in the maybe in the top two or three in the United States. And as that progressed, later on, our genetics were so good that Mr. McLaren, the owner of 44 Farms, decided to start a line of beef products and steaks and hamburgers, hot dogs, all things beef there, and jerky, and that too took off exceedingly well. And so we have a great online business, and also wholesale and business for our steaks, and we're probably in over 500 restaurants in Texas. We're still doing exceptionally well in the registered business, and just over the last few years, in fact, just in the last couple of weeks, we've launched another line of beef products for Walmart, and we'll be providing beef for starting out at over 500 stores in the Southeast, and the line of beef will be called McLaren Farms, and it has some of the same same values and philosophies as 44, with no hormones added. And so we're excited about the opportunity of working with the largest retailer in the world, and again, continue to grow our restaurant and wholesale and online business with 44 Farms. And then again, just we had a record-setting female heifer auction back in May, where we averaged 21,000 heifer sold, and it was and back in February we sold almost 500 bulls at around 10,000 plus. And so it was just an exceedingly successful spring for us.
So you're in charge of business development, correct?
I am.
What exactly does that entail, really short? I'm sure it entails everything, but
No, I mean, and for me, I've tried to, and Bob has allowed me to try to take advantage of some of my what I consider gifts or skills, and so it's more relationship building. And I not only am I might be out seeking a partner for a restaurant, or Also am responsible for managing some of our partnerships. We have partnerships with other ranches and certain people that buy into the genetic side of our operation. And so some of the names that you might be familiar with that are part of that are Darren Williams, Dale Harris, Bruce Weber. There's a Kelvin Beecham's an NFL player for the Cardinals. So we have quite a few. Billy Kennedy was at A&M for a number of years at Wichita State now. So I manage those partnerships, and then also I'm allowed to be responsible for. We have a ranch in Montana that I kind of look out for too, as well. So yeah, any given day could be anything different, but certainly my knowledge of the cattle industry has grown, but I cannot be considered an authority in any way. So I just try to stay in my lane. What I do, what I think I do well.
So do you have a group of people that you lead, or are you working obviously?
I work with multiple groups, and so I think that when you're my age, you lead every day, and it's either by your example and or sharing your wisdom daily, or whether it might be lifting people up or encouraging them, or whatever the task of the day at hand calls for.
Gotcha. I'll post a link to 44farms.com, in the description to the video. If you're watching, make sure you go check it out. You can buy steaks from there. You can buy the whole dang cow if you want. You can buy genetics. You can get whatever you want from the website. So I don't know. I just think it's very awesome. I think it says a lot about you that you can go from coaching basketball. Then I believe it was sports agency next, and now into the cattle industry. It's just kind of proof that we can learn what we want to learn and get up to speed on what we need to. So, in what ways do you feel your skills as a coach? I know you mentioned relationships. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but those skills you learn teaching and coaching. How'd that transfer into the inner workings of business and entrepreneurship?
Well, I think that again, your skills as a coach. I mean, you're certainly you try to be a great teacher. I think great coaches are always great teachers, and you become a great teacher by knowing your subject matter, or being able to not just knowing your subject matter, but being able to break it down in a manner so that other people understand it and can comprehend what the ultimate goal is. And so I think the same thing in the business world is that whatever our particular goal is at that time, you have to be goal driven and centered. You have to have work ethic, and that's displayed daily. And so you have to have a passion for what you do. If you don't believe in what you're doing, and people see through that very, very quickly. And so you just have to be excited about the day and the opportunities that God's given us to again be the best we can be, and to also help others get to where they're capable of.
So you kind of take that's kind of the same approach I've always taken, is if you'll help somebody else get what they want, you'll reap all the rewards in life
Sure.
that you want. Did you find yourself coaching yourself early? I know when I got into real estate, I found myself kind of coaching myself the same way I used to coach my kids, as far as the mindset and things. Did
Well,
you find that?
yeah, I mean, I think it's such a challenge in the fact that you're learning something new and completely different than from what I was doing in a lot of respects. And so, just teaching yourself, again about the business itself, regardless of what it is, and then making sure that you're taking care of the details as you do in coaching. You don't want to leave any stone unturned. And so that's the challenge, I think. And then having a realistic thought that I'm not gonna have the same knowledge as somebody that's been in the business 30 years. But I can still gain enough knowledge to be effective and to be positive in a manner that will benefit the company and represent the company in a manner that will help grow the business.
Yeah. You mentioned something there that, I think is big in business, big in life in general is, comparing yourself to others. I know coaching, I used to look around at Coach Patterson at Plano West and, yourself and all these different coaches, and you want to be at that level and you don't understand why you're not. And you're not going to get there by comparing yourselves to those people. You have to figure out how they got there and do that work. So I appreciate that you said the comparing yourselves to others and things. I want to talk a little bit about your upbringing. I know a lot about your, I guess, coaching and adult life, but I don't know, where you came from, what that situation might have been like. But I know coaches that I've spoke to, successful coaches, there was a situation in their youth. There was a person there, whether it was mom and dad, what it was. But where do you think your drive, your passion, the things you live by, where did that come from?
Well, I grew up in a pretty tough environment in South Dallas, and we had some difficult times in our family, and had to deal with not only dealing with multiple stepdads and having to move quite frequently. I think we moved 22 times by the time I was 18 or 19, as I was in the beginning of college, and just I had a brother that was a excellent role model. I had three brothers that were all great guys, but one of them was a basketball coach and a history teacher, and I thought he was pretty great. And so he probably had fostered as much as far as driving me towards having that as a career as anybody, and just loved the game, and just again thought he had such a wonderful life that I thought that was something that might be a good avenue for me to try.
Okay. I know personally every day I recognize something, my mom or dad or, my coach said to me that makes a lot more sense today. And I'm sure, your brothers and things of that nature, as long with you. Specifically, a couple things, you've always been all about quality and brand, even before people knew what brand and branding was. I think Tommy Thomas understood brand. At the Colony, you had a brand. I know you got a brand at 44 Farms. I personally believe we're all a brand these days, just like Coca-Cola and Pepsi and Dr. Pepper, because we're out there socially so much. So I just want, is there any, thing that tied into your personal drive and, you understanding quality and branding and those things?
Well, I think I understood that one of the ways to bring attention to your program clearly was success, but you owed it to those kids to try to make sure that you put them on the greatest stage that you could. I felt like it was one of my obligations, and not every coach feels like this, but it's not to say they're wrong. But if they gave me the effort that they gave me daily, and they had aspirations to playing at the collegiate level, then I felt like it was my job to try to find them a place to play at that level. Not everybody is certainly not a Division I player, and I reminded them of that often. And but if they were willing to work and take care of their grades and be good citizens, then I was certainly felt like that as part of my job. And so I think that you get a reputation for caring about your kids, and people can see, especially your opponents and their fans, they can kind of see where you're genuine and whether you're, just kind of faking it or not. And but I did have great passion for the game and certainly for my players, and was willing to do that. And so we were able to build a brand. And so, in the end, we were able to. We were one of the first. We had a deal with Nike, and so that puts us on a national level. And after that, we were with AND1. We were the first team in the LISD to get to travel. We went to the Beach Ball Classic, and one of the things that helped drive that was they had an academic decathlon that went on. So we not only were able to brand the Colony as a basketball program, but we were able to show the nation that we had great students academically as well. And so that was quite an honor to get to take them with us. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that it's something that you have to be aware of, and again, just be yourself, but you have to actively go after it, and make sure that people know that you're the same person, day to day and on and off the court, and you care about the same values. And I think that's certainly one of the key ingredients.
And then, your ability to build relationships is impeccable. Guess it was Coach Seaman I was talking to the other day at lunch, and that kid loves you to death, like I think we all do, but obviously he's closer to you than any. But I was just telling him, Coach, you have a way of making people that you're around feel like they've known you forever and ever. And where did that come from? Who you picked it up somewhere? You didn't just roll out of bed one day and say, I've got to build relationships. Where did it come from?
Well, again, I think my dad was in sales, and so although I didn't know him very well growing up, I think that he had a gift of being able to communicate, and so I think that that part of my personality was probably passed on by him, and being able to, and being asked to move as many times as we did put me in a situation where if I was going to make new friends. I had to work at it. I had to build a relationship, and I tell people all the time that relationships there's always one person that gives more than the other in relationships. Everybody thinks it needs to be 50-50, but it's not. And there's people that have to work harder at it. I have to work really hard at my marriage, because I'm so fortunate to be married to such a wonderful woman. I understand that, and same thing with other relationships. I've never minded making a call just to continue a relationship of somebody that, I've talked to kids that I coached. One of them just called me the other day and said, "Hey, I'm coming down to a lacrosse tournament. My son's playing down in Houston, and I coached him in 1981." And so there are special relationships that I try to make sure I work at, and we fail sometimes at it. But again, you have to be willing to kind of step out of your comfort zone, and then be comfortable with the fact that it's okay for one of you to give more in that to maintain it if you still are benefiting from it, and not just I'm not talking about just business wise, but you're benefiting just from it internally.
Yeah, just spiritually and
Yeah,
emotionally.
you bet.
Relationship. Yeah. There's a lot of coaches that'll be listening to this that hang on practically every word you say. I know you're very humble on that.
I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry that they haven't set the bar higher.
Well, what would you tell them and business owners alike about building relationships that they may not hear from anybody else? Like one little tidbit about building a relationship that they may not hear from any other source.
Well, I'm very flattered that you think that I have the wisdom of Yoda, and I could just pull something like that. But as in my coaching, I didn't have very many original ideas. I was not a great X and O guy, but I did have the opportunity to be around some great X and O guys. And the same thing with with people in business, and I think that you learn from everybody, and you're always willing to just listen and pay attention to what makes them successful, and then just again be humble in it, and be willing to work at it, and get up every day and be grateful for the job you have. I told somebody just this week, I said, I'm 63, and I've been stealing money for 40 years. I've never felt like I ever got up and went to work. I loved every day as a coach, and I've loved every day at McLaren Sports and 44 Farms, and just feel honored and blessed. And I think that if you got a choice every morning to get up and either have a good attitude about it or be sour. And the minute you walk in the door, everybody knows where you got up that morning. If the first words out of your mouth are going to tell everybody in the office, or everybody in the classroom, or everybody everybody on the basketball floor, where your head is at and where your heart is at. And so I think we have to really be conscious of what we say, to people at the beginning of the day and all day long, because again, we we feed off each other.
Yeah, true. So I pretty much live by the 80-20 rule. 80% of the work is done by 20% of the group. 80% of the points are made by 20% of the team. 80% of the tackles are made by 20% of the defense. 80% of my real estate results come from 28% of my activities that I do. And, we could go on on that. But the 80% always needs to feel like they're a part of that 20%, right? To make any organization perform at a high level. So how did you help your role players? You had 12 kids, obviously only 5's playing. If you were like me, probably only 7 or 8 were playing in the biggest of moments. How did you help those role players, that supporting cast, buy into that overall goal, and the missions of your group?
Well, I think again, it stems from how they perceive your investment in them, and the 8, 9, 10, 11 players, 12 players. They have to be coached the same way. I never let them off the hook because they might not have been as talented as the number one player. I tried to coach them all at the same level. Sometimes I'm sure that they, it was difficult for them in that sense, but I never gave them much leeway, and so I had an expectation of what I knew realistically where I thought you could be. And most of the time, it was never where you thought you could be, because I always thought so much more of you, not just, as far as your competitive level and where you could be, but and your skill, but just, again, your effort. And so I think I did a good job as far as coaching everybody from that, even the ones, like I said, didn't get quality minutes. In reflection, though, I've looked back and thought about this just because Matt asked me something about it the other day, and I don't think I did as good a job developing relationships with that 8 through 12. I mean, I knew them really well, but I just don't know that if I dug down and got as close to them as I might have, the players that played the most minutes. And so that would probably be something that I would try to do a better job of if I went back into coaching, would be to make sure that I made a greater effort to know even more, or get into a deeper relationship with those guys so I could help them get where they wanted to go.
Yeah. I went back and listened to our panel when you and Ron Powell, and Coach Hicks and Quigley were on, and I asked a similar question, and Coach Powell said that he built relationships with the players that wanted them, that he kind of let players come to him, and when you were talking about that, I was thinking maybe sometimes the 9, 10, 11, and 12, they don't want a relationship with us for one reason or another. I was the same way. I tried to, involve every kid. If I had a kid going D1, I tried to coach number 10 or 11, the same skill set and at the same level as that person, because they might have to play for them someday. but
Yeah.
but
But you're right.
Yeah.
Sometimes they again that they may not have the same feeling as far as having a relationship goes, and so again there's the challenge to get a read on that.
Yeah.
But that's that's just part of getting through life. They're trying to find their way as well.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So during our coaches panel, we talked about, what you look for in an assistant. And, you jokingly talked about young guys that could play. And I
Yeah.
know that was specifically, I do know you hired uh, specifically for that, which I
Well,
think is
in
really,
some instances, like I hired Taz, and he probably wasn't a great player, but he had so many other skills and people skills that he was able to make up for that. So,
yeah. But Clarkson could play with them.
oh yeah, Clark could play. Yeah, you bet. And Coach Ryan could play, and Coach Johnson, Kevin Lonesome was an excellent assistant for me, and he played on the national championship Division II team. So yeah, I mean that was some of the criteria that I look for, but not certainly not the only one.
yeah. So I wanted to ask you today, if you were to hire a staff today, and we'll say that the district was kind enough to let you hire three. Some may let you do that, and some may not. But what specific skills, now that you've been in the business world and and let's say you're going back into coaching, you get to hire three assistants. What would you look for in those three today that might be different than when you got out of the business?
I'm going to say that it probably not as far away as you think. I mean, I would still my playing ability has diminished even more the last 20 years than when I got out. So I would still be looking for guys athletically that could probably demonstrate some things and stuff. I would still look for, and the same qualities for me would be, work ethic and integrity and character. I think as I got older and more confident in my knowledge of the game, that became less important to me. That they had great knowledge of the game. That I felt like I could teach them what we did at the Colony High School that helped make us successful. So what I look for, and the same thing I would recommend now to anybody that's hiring. I mean, we do a Berkman test, which is kind of an assessment for people that are looking to be employed by us, and so that I went to school a school for that, to be able to read that and interpret those tests, to see where their interests are, and that kind of thing. But it still falls back for me is that they have to have the same values that I have, okay, and have a passion for what they do, and I have to be able to see that, and I have to be able to believe them. I have to trust them, and so the things that make them great hires as basketball assistants are the same things that everybody should be looking for. They have to have a willingness to learn, a work ethic, a passion, integrity, character, and be selfless. That I think that's in order to promote yourself. Sometimes people go way out there, and to me that becomes a kind of a difficult thing to navigate because I think you become you promote yourself and you become successful by just being the best player on the team to have the team success, and that everyone will notice the individual or as a result of the success of the team or the business. We got a great team at 44, and it's all led by Bob McLaren. And so I mean, how he hires over the years, and that doesn't mean that there's not been misses, but for the most part, he's done a great job of putting together a great team, and that's the reason that we're successful.
Anything going in the business world you could take back to the coaching arena about dealing with adversity from the business world going back into coaching?
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the ways that I've been able to try to be positive in everything that I do business wise is the fact that it comes from coaching. Because on Tuesdays and Fridays, if you win, Wednesday's great and Saturday's great, and if you lose, you got to put it beside you, put it behind you, and you got to go back to work and try to win the next one. And I think that there's failures in business, and it's a lot seems a lot tougher, I think, in business to be able to be as resilient, because it has such an influence on your pocketbook and your check and your home. And again, I felt like I carried that burden when I coached, but that I didn't want to get fired. That fear of failure. But it's even more enhanced when you're in the business world, because again, failure after failure after failure in the business world, you're unemployed.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's certainly something I had to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I think regularly if I was to go back into coaching, I would be a better coach. From being in the business world, I just think I could communicate some of these things, adversity, competing. You're basically talking about people that are competing unethically, which we do run across in the basketball world occasionally, but it's not worth millions of dollars often, or something of that nature. So, recently you were named one of the top 100 coaches over the last 100 years by the UIL, our state athletic association, which is quite an honor. Congrats on that. And I looked over that list when it came out. A lot of great coaches on there. So to be on it, there's a lot of great coaches probably left off of that list. So being on it is a great honor. When I moved to Texas, and I believe it was 94, 95, Texas high school basketball was, playing second fiddle, if not third fiddle, to Texas football and maybe even baseball at the time. I might have read more about Duncanville baseball and some of those things back then than I read about basketball. But you were one of the first basketball coaches, I read about or heard about, in the local news. That was making a difference in Texas high school basketball. And then shortly after that, you had a few players come through: Darren Williams, Bracy Wright, Pam Harmon, and it seemed at that point Texas basketball kind of went on the national map more, with Darren going to Illinois, Bracy going to Indiana, Bam went to Rhode Island, I believe, and they were all top programs at that time. So I guess it's 20 some years later. This last year, Texas college hoops had a lot of representation in the men's and women's tournament. I went and watched John Paul play. They have one of the best point guards I've seen in a long time going to A&M. They have a potential lottery pick going to Texas Tech. So I guess my point is Texas basketball is probably one of the most respected states now in the country. I think you got a lot of that started at the Colony with your group. So just when you look back now and you see how much Texas basketball's grown and it's respected nationally, just, what are your thoughts on that? I mean,
oh, it's been a wonderful journey to watch it happen. I mean, we back in the mid '80s, we couldn't even have camp, and then we had summer league, and I remember having the first 7 or 8 teams in our summer league, and you could only put 3 players on a summer league team, so you had to have 3 other schools on a team, and your varsity was spread out amongst other teams, and so then they made it where we could have camp, and so That was in the 80s as well. And so all those things, progressed. And certainly by the time that Darren and those guys got here, we were very, very fortunate to have a program that was well respected. I had relationships with guys that had recruited my guys. And so that was it was really good for me because I could, draw on their knowledge, of the game to help me be a better coach. And so when Darren and those guys were seniors, I mean, there was like half a dozen pros besides Darren and Bracy. There was, the kid, the Hortons kid, Daniel and Jason at Cedar Hill, Ike Diago at Garland. Jason Maxiell was 2 miles or 3 miles down the road at Newman Smith. And then, Chris Bosch was at Lincoln. Brian Hopkins was at Lincoln as well. And there were just so many extraordinary players in the Metroplex that year that went on to play at a national level, and have great success and then play, like I said, play professionally for a number of years. And so I think that really it kind of helped blow it up. Mike Kunstadt, his Great American Shootout brought all those college coaches to Denton every year, every July. And he did a remarkable job in helping to promote Texas high school basketball and Texas high school players. I give him a lot of credit for that. And then, the coaching just continued to get better. And the players continue to get better. And so it's been wonderful to watch it. I mean, there's just so many great players and great coaches out there right now, and certainly on that list as well. Again, I think that I must have just been down to like, like a sub list or something. I don't know, but I was very fortunate and blessed to be on it.
Well, I think most people that know Texas basketball know that you had a big hand in taking it to the next level, and a lot of it goes back to your branding. And I know you probably didn't consider it branding, but I think people knew if they played the Colony, they were playing tough-nosed defense, disciplined, and I think that was your brand.
Well, thank you, because that's exactly what I wanted it to be.
Well, that's what people saw, and I think when you build a brand, you don't have to tell people what it is. They see it, and they're attracted to it. You don't have to recruit. They just want to come be around it. Well, I'm going to finish up. I'm going to throw some terms at you. I'd like you to say the first thing that comes to your mind on these. I'm not going to time you or anything, but hit me with them quick. I'm going to call this the Big 12 because there's 12 of them. Number 1, offense.
Just play within yourself.
1-3-1.
Well, Baylor did a great job with the 1-3-1.
Full court press.
Love to do that when I had really good players.
Success.
That's having a wonderful marriage, a wonderful daughter, and a relationship with Christ.
Defense.
Love to get after you. Love to guard you from the time you got off the bus.
Motion.
Oh, Rick Majerus ran great motion, and Bruce Weber ran great motion.
Cattle.
Oh, Angus, registered Angus, 44 farms.
Talent.
It helps you be a better coach.
Faith.
Faith is what guides me every day, and is the reason that we're here.
Relationships.
Humbled to have the relationships that I've been able to develop in my life, and just honored to be friends with some special people.
Legacy.
Maybe a guy that just had passion for whatever he did, and wore his faith in a manner that represented the Lord in a positive way.
Last one. Shooters.
none better than Bracy Wright that I had. I mean, that guy could really shoot it. And but yeah, I had some good ones over the years, you know. So Scott Smith, Rob Fox, you know, Darren was a great shooter. I just couldn't get him to shoot a lot, you know. But he was always willing to give it up, you know. And so yeah, they can solve a lot of woes. So
That would have been the first thing out of my mouth. Lots of help if you can shoot. So, well, Coach, I appreciate you. We're going to end the interview now. We can talk a few more minutes if you want, but I appreciate it.
well, thank you. And I'm humbled to again to be on this. I've watched your podcast and stuff, and I think anybody that that watches them can learn and grow. And there's always something to learn every day, you know. And I never went to another practice of another coach that I didn't take away something. And I think that everybody that watches your stuff, if they're listening, you know, they're going to get something that's going to make them better in business or a better person, or remind them of something that they forgot, you know.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that for not only the coaches, but for the people in your world. I think it's certainly we're all going to benefit from your effort. So thank you.
Appreciate it, Coach. Get down that way. I'm going to get with you.
Come on.
I might start calling you once a week just to get some good vibes.
Let me lift you up, man, because I'm just telling you, God is doing amazing things every day, and the opportunities that He gives us are there, and it's ours to try to take advantage of it. And I'd be honored if you'd let me remind you what a great opportunity and great life you have. So
well, I'll let you. I appreciate you, buddy.
Okay. Have a great day.
Thanks, Coach. Bye-bye.